The Taming of Coyote, Chapter 15. After days of rain and gloom, it was a relief to see a glimpse of the sun. The weather had cooled considerably. Still, it was warmer than it had been when the rains were overtaking the woods. It was a good chance to get some work done. The ground was wet, but several heavy comforters provided a dry place to sit and enjoy the calm day. Sonia enjoyed it. After days of virtual silence, save the fire in company of Ezra and Coyote, it was nice to smell fresh air and listen to the birds that would spend time outside. Her ankle was almost completely healed. The swelling was gone, and the bruising had faded to a pale yellow, prepared to vanish altogether. The tender soreness was all that was left behind. Sonia wasn't planning to object. She would have Ezra to keep her company while Coyote busied himself with chopping the wood he had stored away to keep dry. He was a character, that Ezra. The rain had quelled his mood to the point of grumpy. Now he was free to spend the day outside without the rain to soak him. With mouth open wide, tongue hanging free, he raced through the leaves and mud. This was nice. Sonia felt a great tranquility. She almost wished to abandon the notion of returning to Turn. However, though Coyote was quite hospitable, she doubted he would tolerate her presence for too long. She could hear him grunt as he brought down the axe to split the segment of wood. He worked hard. He worked in just his pants and boots, too hot to keep his shirt and coat on. Even if he was a bit snuggly about the middle, the content beer gut, Sonia could see his strong muscles working in his torso and arms. He would certainly be a force to be reckoned with. His long hair dampened from his sweat. A devil? A spirit? What did he call it? Otherkin? She wasn't sure if supernatural was quite the word to describe him. "Do you want me to carry the wood to your shed?" Sonia asked. She felt a little guilty just sitting there while he worked. "There is no rush to work that ankle," Coyote huffed and puffed. "I will handle it." "But you've worked so hard already," she insisted. He paused from his chore and turned to her. He wiped his forehead with his arm and grew a knowing smile. The more she looked at him, the more she grew comfortable and saw his charming qualities. It became so easy to forget the superficial first impressions. "I employ a sled or wheelbarrow," he said simply. Indeed he did. After chopping a bit, he would stack the vehicle between a sled and a wagon. Why hadn't she noticed it earlier? "Do you pull it?" "I call my pack together if I can't do it for myself. Sometimes I can coax a bear, but at this time of year it would do no good. Since I have no horses, I have to make do with what is available." "I feel so useless," she sighed. Coyote chuckled as he swung his axe over his shoulder. "Your springs are getting wound up. Play with Ezra on the blanket." "He's all muddy. The comforters can be washed." "But that's more work for you," she whined. "Your lack of selfishness is outstanding," he laughed, and chopped another piece of wood. Sonia frowned. "I don't think so. I think I'm very selfish. I always want to do my own thing rather than conform to the community." "You sound like Lorraine." Headstrong she was. She was a bit outspoken and debatably rustic. She could see her faults, but not help them. Little did she realize what sort of impact that had on others. Granted, like most young ladies, she had that rebellious streak in her, but as she grew emotionally, everything seemed to work out just fine. "You still love her, don't you?" she asked. "That's a really silly question to ask, don't you think?" Coyote responded. "I still love her. I miss her very much. I have seen several people I care about die over the years, go away to other worlds or places. I'll see you go one day. I'll see every animal go, even your Ezra. I'll outlive some of the trees. Maybe, just maybe, some will outlive me." The little coyote that was Ezra released a little whimper, as if he could understand. "I'm sorry that I brought it up," Sonia sighed. He chopped another piece of wood and smirked. What a personality. "You worry too much about things you can do nothing about, Sonia. If you're not careful, it'll make you paranoid. Enjoy life. You know you want to." Sonia was silent for a long moment. It was an odd conversation, wasn't it? Still, Coyote's patience was a pleasure. She could sense his light-heartedness. Ezra paced about the edge of the blankets before he finally sat down. He knew that Coyote was busy, and he wanted Sonia to play with him. He wasn't taking this being ignored thing very well. He let out a small bark. She merely waved him off as she contemplated Coyote further. Ezra let out an annoyed sneeze. Why wouldn't she play with him? He tensed. Then, without warning, he skipped into the air as if he was sitting on a spring. She certainly saw that out of the corner of her eye. She let out a startled yell as he came down on her. Coyote spun around, ready to come to the rescue. However, he knew that posture. Ezra wasn't hurting her as he pawed and licked. Mostly, he got her dirty. Coyote leaned on the axe as he was thrown into a fit of laughter. Sonia grabbed onto Ezra's neck in an attempt to push him off. However, he was quite a persistent whelp. "Show him who's boss, Sonia," Coyote teased with great mirth. "Get him off me," she demanded. "He's covered in mud. Yuck!" "Good clean dirt," he called. He dropped the axe and rushed over to her. However, rather than play the hero coming to her rescue, much to her chagrin, he held her down. She let out a scream as Ezra licked her face mercilessly. Coyote only encouraged him. "Ezra! Coyote!" she cried out. He only laughed. Despite her screams, she seemed to be in good spirits. Otherwise, he'd never have persisted in this manner. "Is that all you've got, Sonia?" "Coyote!" A hot bath was very welcome. While Sonia soaked in the tub, Coyote began to hang the freshly washed clothing on the line before the fireplace. Suddenly bashful, Sonia sank into the suds and tried to cover herself with her washcloth. "Do I bother you?" That caught her by surprise. Though Coyote was not looking at her, he was very aware of what she was doing. No." Ezra let out a huff. He was settled before the fire. He had been bathed earlier and was about dry now. Coyote stepped over him to hang Sonia's frock. "If you prefer, I could change shape. Do you need more water?" "No, I have enough water." She blushed a bit, unable to look at him. "Maybe a coyote would make me less bashful. I've never been naked in front of a man before. Except Uncle Homer, when I was really small." Coyote responded duly. When the laundry was hung, he changed from the man he had been to the Coyote she was familiar with. Immediately, Sonia felt better. She was right. Even though she knew better, being in front of animals was far more comfortable than facing a man. "Coyote." "What is it?" he asked in a gruff voice. It was different than when he was a man. "You started a story, but you never finished." "What story was that?" he asked. "The story about Avery. You told me about how he freed you from the snare, and how you gave him a deer as your payment. But what happened after that? Will you tell me?" Coyote padded over to her side beside the tub. "Oh, that one. Yes, now I remember." "Tell me more about it, Coyote." Down he sat on his haunches. "Very well, I will tell you more."